Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at the evolving world of AI and especially the ethical considerations surrounding three big names, Google, OpenAI, and DeepMind.
These companies are shaping the future, and with that comes huge responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to help us unpack all this, we're tapping into a recent episode of AI Debates.
Yeah, it featured Dr. Ava Techwise, Professor Leo Quant, and Miss Gina Innovate, who offered some really diverse perspectives.
I'm excited to dive in. So let's start with Google. I mean, they're like the poster child for AI right now.
They are Google Assistant self-driving cars. It's pretty much everywhere you look.
Raises questions about their massive data pool.
Right. Dr. Techwise pointed out that Google processes billions of searches every single day.
Wow, so that's fueling their AI. But what about data privacy? How's all that data being used?
Exactly. It's incredibly valuable, but also raises concerns. And Ms. Innovate brought up the potential for this dominance to stifle competition.
Right. If Google's the only game in town, does that even leave room for other innovators?
It's a valid concern, and this sparked a debate on AI debates about whether more transparency from Google would even help.
Would opening up their research and data, even in a limited way, help or hurt?
Would it ensure AI develops ethically and benefits everyone, or would it just create more problems?
That's a tough one. I mean, finding that sweet spot between protecting information and fostering collaboration.
It's a complex issue. There are definitely strong arguments on both sides.
I can imagine. What do you think, I mean, as someone who follows this closely?
Well, on one hand, you could argue that open collaboration would accelerate progress and help us address these concerns head-on.
Yeah, makes sense.
But then there's the other side. Unrestricted access to powerful tech like this could have serious unintended consequences.
So it's not a simple answer.
Not at all. And it makes you think about the impact on smaller companies, too. Can they compete when the giants are holding all the cards?
That's what I was wondering. Ms. Innovate seemed to think it created an uneven playing field.
Yeah. But then Professor Quant argued that Google's resources allow them to invest in research that might not be possible for smaller organizations.
Okay, so it's a nuanced issue. It sounds like we need a broader conversation about responsible innovation.
Absolutely. And that leads us perfectly to OpenAI. Their mission statement is literally to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is. And they've also faced a lot of scrutiny, especially with GPT-4.
Yeah, seems like everyone and their mother is using it these days.
Right. Which highlights a tension that OpenAI is grappling with.
What do you mean?
Well, they started as a nonprofit dedicated to open source research, but they've since created a for-profit arm, too.
That's interesting. So does that mean they're kind of torn?
It raises questions about whether they can stay committed to that initial mission while pursuing commercial success.
Yeah, profits and the public good don't always go hand in hand. And Zinnovate was pretty vocal about this potential conflict.
Yeah, she argued that pressure to generate revenue could compromise their commitment to ethical AI development.
It's a valid concern. And it gets even more complicated when you consider their shift away from that purely open source model.
Right. They're more selective about what they share, now citing safety concerns.
So is this actually making AI safer, or is it more about controlling the technology?
That's the question. Professor Quant argued that controlling access to powerful AI, especially in its early stages, is crucial to prevent misuse.
I can see that. But doesn't that clash with the need for transparency?
It does. Dr. Techwise expressed concerns about the lack of openness. She believes that collaboration is essential to identifying and mitigating these risks.
So it's a real balancing act. How do we balance open research with the need to protect against potential harm?
Honestly, it's tough. I see both sides. Maybe a hybrid approach with varying levels of openness depending on the technology itself would be best.
It seems like a lot of this boils down to finding the right balance. And speaking of balance, let's talk about DeepMind.
Yeah, the company really pushing the limits of what AI can do, especially with their work on AlphaGo.
And that ambitious pursuit of artificial general intelligence?
Right, where things get really fascinating, maybe even a little unnerving for some people.
How so?
They're aiming for AI with human-level intelligence across a wide range of domains. This isn't just about AI that's good at specific tasks.
That's exciting and a little scary.
Yeah.
What happens when we create something that can learn and reason? Like we can maybe even surpass us.
That's exactly what Dr. Techwise was worried about.
Yeah, this goes way beyond just another algorithm.
She argued that DeepMind's pursuit of AGI brings up a whole new set of ethical considerations. We might be creating entities that deserve moral consideration.
Wow, That's a heavy thought. We're talking about potentially redefining intelligence consciousness, even what it means to be human.
Exactly. And then there's the question of control. Even if we can create AGI, can we actually control it?
That's a question I've been asking myself as well.
Professor Quant pointed out that DeepMind's work on reinforcement learning, where AI learns through trial and error, raises concerns about unintended consequences.
So what if an AGI develops goals that don't align with our own?
It's a valid concern and one that researchers are trying to address. The key is to ensure that as AI gets more sophisticated, we also develop the safety measures and ethical frameworks to guide it.
Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom like some of those sci-fi movies make it seem.
Well, those movies do highlight the importance of being thoughtful about how we develop AI.
Right, it's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we use it. And DeepMind isn't operating in a vacuum. They're owned by Google, which brings us back to corporate influence.
Right. Miss Innovate argued that being under Google could steer their research toward commercial applications.
And that might not always align with the long-term goals of AGI research.
Exactly. She believes that true AGI development might need a more open and collaborative approach, free from those corporate interests.
So can DeepMind really pursue AGI for the benefit of all humanity if they're ultimately beholden to a company with its own motivations?
It's a complicated situation, and it highlights why these conversations are so important. We need to make sure those ethical considerations are always front and center.
Well, we've covered a lot in this first part. From data privacy concerns with Google to OpenAI's structure and now DeepMind's AGI ambitions. It's clear this landscape is evolving fast, and so are the ethical challenges we face.
And it's a landscape filled with potential, too. I mean, it's easy to focus on the risks, but we can't forget about the incredible ways AI can benefit humanity.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
These companies aren't just building tech for fun. They're driven by solving real problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Google's work in healthcare. They're using AI to develop algorithms that can detect diseases like cancer much earlier.
Wow, that's incredible. So we're talking about potentially saving lives.
Exactly. And it goes beyond healthcare. They're also using AI to make transportation systems more efficient. Think reducing traffic congestion and improving air quality.
That's huge. And what about OpenAI? I mean, they're really focused on education, right?
Yeah, they're creating AI tools that can personalize learning, making it more engaging and accessible for everyone.
That's something I'm personally excited about. Imagine a world where every student gets a learning experience tailored to their needs.
It could be revolutionary. And DeepMind, with their focus on AGI, they're aiming even higher.
Right, trying to solve those really big problems like climate change and poverty.
Exactly. They believe AGI could be the key. But to unlock that potential, we need careful planning collaboration and a commitment to ethical principles.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how we use it.
Exactly. And that brings us back to ethics. Dr. Techwise made a great point during the AI debates discussion.
What was that?
She said we can't just wait for ethical dilemmas to pop up. We need to anticipate them and build safeguards into the technology from the very beginning.
So a more proactive approach.
Exactly. And that's where value alignment comes in. This idea that AI's goals and values should be aligned with our own human values.
Okay, I've heard that term, but what does it actually mean in practice?
It's about embedding our ethical principles into AI systems.
Yeah.
Think of it like teaching a child right from wrong.
Right, we want them to make good choices for themselves and for society.
Exactly. Value alignment aims for something similar with AI.
But how do you actually do that? How do you teach a machine right from wrong?
Well, one way is through something called inverse reinforcement learning. AI observes human behavior and tries to figure out what motivates us. What are our values and goals?
So it's like AI is watching us, learning from our example.
Yeah, but it's not perfect. Human values can be complicated, and AI could misinterpret things or learn the wrong lessons.
True. We humans aren't always the best role models ourselves.
Exactly. That's why we need human oversight and constant monitoring. We need experts who can evaluate AI, identify potential biases, and make adjustments if needed.
It's a continuous process. We can't just set it and forget it.
Right. It requires ongoing collaboration between humans and AI. And this isn't just the responsibility of a few experts. It's a societal issue.
I agree. We all need to be part of this conversation.
And that's especially true when it comes to AGI.
Wait,
Professor Quant brought up a really interesting point.
what was that?
He said that if we create AGI, it could change everything. Our understanding of intelligence, consciousness, even what it means to be human.
Wow, now we're getting philosophical. So if we create something that can think like us, does it deserve the same rights?
That's a tough question that ethicists are wrestling with right now. But it's a conversation we need to have.
Absolutely. The choices we make now will impact future generations. We
Yeah.
need to make sure AI is used to enhance our lives, not create new problems.
Well said. And I think that leads perfectly into our next topic, the role of individuals in shaping the future of AI.
I was just thinking about that. It's easy to feel like these issues are out of our control, but you're saying we all have a part to play.
We absolutely do. And the first step is education. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions.
So read up on it, listen to podcasts like this one, attend events where you can learn more.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Challenge assumptions. Share your concerns. The future of AI is being shaped right now, and your voice matters.
I love that. It's not about being passive. It's about actively shaping this technology.
Precisely. And think about your consumer choices, too. Support companies that align with your values. Choose products and services that prioritize ethical AI.
It's like voting with our wallets, sending a message about what kind of AI we want to see in the world.
Exactly. And finally, get involved in the political process. Advocate for policies that promote responsible AI development and protect human rights.
Because ultimately, this isn't just about technology. It's about what kind of society we want to build.
And we have the power to shape that society. One conversation, one decision, one action at a time.
You've given us a lot to think about. We've explored some complex ethical issues around AI, from data privacy to AGI and the very definition of humanity.
Yeah,
It feels like we're on the verge of something big here. The choices we make about AI now will have a lasting impact.
no doubt. We're creating the rules for a technology that could change everything. And that's exciting, but also a little scary.
Totally. But after all your research and talking to experts, do you feel optimistic about the future of AI, or is it mostly doom and gloom?
I'd say it's a mix of both. There's definitely a lot of concern about the risks and challenges, but there's also real excitement about the possibilities.
Okay, so it's not all bad news.
Not at all. A lot of researchers are committed to using AI for good, to solving problems and making life better.
That's good to hear, because sometimes it feels like all we hear about is AI taking over the world.
Yeah. Those stories are more fiction than reality. But they do remind us to be careful and intentional about how we develop and use AI.
Right, so we need to be aware of the potential dangers, but not let fear stop us from innovating.
Exactly. It's about balance, pushing the limits of what's possible while also making sure AI aligns with our values and benefits everyone.
Okay, so how do we actually do that?
Well, it takes a multifaceted approach.
Yeah.
We need to invest in research, develop strong safety measures, and foster a culture of ethical responsibility within the tech industry.
But it also comes down to individuals, right?
Mhm.
Giving people the tools and knowledge they need to be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. We need informed citizens who are engaged in the debate and who hold companies and policymakers accountable.
So this isn't just happening in some far-off tech hub. It's happening in our communities, in our everyday lives.
Exactly. And that's what makes this moment so important. We're not just watching this unfold. We have the power to shape it.
I like that. So our voices and our choices actually matter.
They absolutely do. You've given us so much to think about, from data privacy to the very nature of consciousness and what it means to be human.
It's been an incredible journey. So as we wrap up, is there anything you want listeners to remember as they navigate this complex world of AI?
I think the most important thing is to stay curious and be critical. Don't be afraid to ask questions, challenge what you hear, and demand transparency.
So stay informed, stay engaged, and speak up.
Exactly. AI is a tool. It can be used for good or for bad. We decide how we want to use it and what kind of future we want to create.
That's a powerful message. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the ethical frontiers of AI. I hope you've learned something new and feel empowered to be part of this conversation.
It's been a pleasure. And remember, the future isn't set in stone. We're writing it right now. And we all have a part to play.
That's a great note to end on. So keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep pushing for a future where AI benefits all of humanity. Until next time, stay curious.